Most important Indian polity one-liner notes. 101. What was the subject matter of Millimet Committee, Criminal Justice System in India? 102. Which article of the Constitution says that the state shall endeavor to adopt a uniform civil code? Article 44. 103. The provision for prohibition of traffic in human beings and forced laborers contained in Article 23. 104. Which is the largest committee of the Parliament? The Estimate Committee. 105. Article 371A makes special provisions for which state? Nagaland. 106. What is the name of the committee that recommended the establishment of the Committee on Public Undertakings? Krishna Menon Committee. 107. Who was the chairman of Union Constitution Committee? Jawahar Lala Nehru. 108. What is the strength of the Committee on Public Undertakings? 22. 109. What were the three key words that were added in the preamble by the 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act, 1976? Socialist, secular, and integrity. 110. Provisions of fundamental rights have been borrowed from which country? USA. 111. When was the Constituent Assembly for Undivided India first met? The 9th of December 1946. 112. Who moves the public bill? Minster. 113. Which article of the Constitution defines the money bill? Article 110. 114. Directive principles of state policy has been derived from which constitution? Irish constitutions. 115. Who was the chairman of Provincial Constitution Committee? Sardar Patel. 116. Who was the chairman of the National Commission to review the working of the Constitution? NCRWC. N. Venkatachalaya. 117. The resolution to form new All India services must be passed by Rajya Sabha by which type of majority? Special majority. 118. Who was the chairman of Drafting Committee? B.R. Ambedkar. 119. Who was the chairman of Committee on Fundamental Rights? Sardar Patel. 120. Who was the chairman of Union Powers Committee? Jawahar Lal Nehru. 121. Who was the chairman of Steering Committee? K.M. Munshi. 122. Who said, the preamble of India is the keynote of the Constitution? Ernest Barker. 123. Who takes the oath of upholding the Constitution? SC and HC judges. 124. Who takes the oath of preserving, protecting, and defending the Constitution? President and Governor. 125. Who takes the oath of bearing true faith and allegiance to the Constitution and abiding by it? Ministers. 126. What are the key words explicitly mentioned in the preamble of India? Democratic, sovereign, socialist. 127. Which article deal with the election of Vice President? Article 66. 128. Which type of duty is levied by the Union government but collected and kept by the state government? Stamp duty. 129. Central government schemes like MGNREGA has been framed in accordance with which article of the Constitution? Article 41. 130. Provincial autonomy is the feature of which Act? Government of India Act, 1935. 131. Was K.M. Munshi a member of Drafting Committee? Yes. 132. Which state has no Panchayati Raj institution at all? Nagaland. 133. Which proclamation of national emergency automatically suspends right to freedom? 134. For how long the ordinance issued by the governor will remain in force without the approval of the state legislature? 6 weeks. 135. Who decides the number of judges in a high court? President. 136. Salary and allowances of the ex officio officials of India are mentioned in which schedule of the Constitution? 2nd schedule. 137. What does the expression, Gram Sabha, correctly represents? The electoral college for the Panchayat. 138. The 9th schedule was added by which amendment? First. 139. Who is competent to prescribe conditions is for acquiring Indian citizenship? Parliament. 140. In India, if a religious sect, community is given the status of a national minority, what special advantages it is entitled to? Exclusive educational institution can be established. 141. Right to information is a fundamental right. 142. The concept of concurrent list in the Indian Constitution is derived from the Constitution of which country? Australia. 143. Which country has the largest constitution in the world? India. 144. on which date India became a sovereign, democratic republic, the 26th of January 1950. 145. The members of the constituent were elected by the legislative assemblies of various provinces. 146. Under which article of the Constitution, the provision for national emergency has been enshrined, Article 352. 147. Under which article of the Constitution, the provision for financial emergency has been enshrined, Article 360. 148. Under which article of the Constitution, the provision for state emergency, President rule has been enshrined, Article 356. 149. In which case the arrest of common men during emergency was held legal during national emergency, ADM Jabalpur case. 150. The Constituent Assembly of India was formed on the recommendation of the Cabinet Mission. 151. Who elected the members of Constituent Assembly, legislative members of respective provinces. 152. To whom the Union Public Service Commission presents its report, President. 153. Who was the President of the Constituent Assembly of India, Rajendra Prasad. 154. Which of the followings was a popular slogan of French Revolution, liberty, equality, fraternity? 155. How many times the preamble of the Constitution was amended? Once, in the year 1976 by 42nd CA. 156. Where is the word, federal, used in the Indian Constitution? Nowhere in the Constitution. 157. Which committee was assigned to recommend reforms in the insurance sector? Malhotra Committee. 158. During the proclamation of national emergency which articles cannot be suspended? Articles 20 and 21. 159. In which account all revenues received by the Union government by way of taxes and other receipts is credited, Consolidated Fund of India. 160. Article 1 of the Indian Constitution declares that India means India is the union of states. 161. When did the Indian Constitution come into force? January 26, 1950. 162. At the time of the creation of the Indian Constitution, who was the constitutional advisor of the Constituent Assembly? N. Rao. 163. In India, the concept of single citizenship has been adopted from England. 164. In which article of Indian Constitution, provision has been made for reservation for scheduled castes and scheduled tribes? Article 335. 165. Which committee recommended the Tribhasha Sutra? Kothari Committee. 166. What happens if the annual union budget is not passed by the Lok Sabha? Government resigns. 167. Which part of the Constitution deals with the provisions of citizenship? Part 2. 168. The Indian Constitution had taken the concept of federalism from Canada. 169. The Finance Commission is formed according to which article of the Constitution? Article 280. 170. What is the main function of Finance Commission? Distribution of revenue between center and states. 171. Who can change, modify the recommendations of Delimitation Commission? No one. 172. Who was the chairman of the drafting committee? Ambedkar. 173. What are the basic features of the Indian Constitution that cannot be amended under Article 368? Sovereignty, territoriality, integrity, federal system, judicial review, parliamentary system of governance etc. 174. Which schedule deal with the division of power between center and the states? 7th schedule. 175. Items in central list, 100. 176. Items in state list, 66. 177. Items in concurrent list, 52. 178. Who is the chairman of the Interstate Council? Prime Minister. 179. Panchayat Secretary is appointed by state government. 180. The bill for the local governance was introduced in the government of Narasimha Rao. 181. Who recommended for the two-tier of local governance in place of three-tier form of governance? Ashok Mehta Committee, 1977. 182. Who recommended for participation by political parties at all levels? Ashok Mehta Committee, 1977. 183. From which constitution are the fundamental rights in the Indian Constitution? American Constitution. 184. Which constitution was the first to introduce preamble? American Constitution. 185. Who talked about the constitutional safeguard to the local bodies? L.M. Singhvi Committee. 186. The first municipal corporation in India was set up at which place? Madras. 187. In which case, Supreme Court specifically opined that preamble is not a part of the constitution? Berubari case, 1960. 188. In which case, the Supreme Court held that preamble is a part of the constitution? Kesavananda Bharti case, 1973. 189. How many fundamental rights were given initially? 7. 190. How many fundamental rights are present now? 6. 191. The right to freedom is mentioned in which articles of the Indian Constitution? Articles 19 to 22. 192. Who is regarded as father of local self-government in India? Lord Ripon. 193. Which article provides power to the Election Commission to conduct elections in India? Article 324. 194. Which article authorizes Parliament to change the boundary of the states? Article 3. 195. When the fundamental duties of citizens were added in the Constitution? 1976. 196. What was the total strength of the Constituent Assembly? 389. 197. In India, separation of judiciary from executive is enjoined by which provision of the Constitution? Directive Principle of State Policy. 198. Who is the largest producer of almond in the world? USA. 199. Who is the largest producer of banana in the world? India. 200. Who is the largest producer of apples in the world? China.